I remember the first time I heard Gary John Bishop talking about ending self-sabotage for good. Now, he can say things in his Scottish accent that would normally be offensive, but for some reason, it just feels like he's a friend telling me what I needed to hear. And because of that, his knowledge has helped me recognize self-sabotage and end it before it even begins. Some of the most impactful things I heard him say were, you change your life by doing, not by thinking about doing. Remember, everything is solvable, and if you can't see a solution, it only means you haven't worked it out yet. And you have the life that you're willing to put up with. But one stuck out more than the others. And after I fully dove into all of his books and finally understood what he meant, it gave me the power to take control of the things that I can control, including my own thoughts. He said, in simple terms, the language you use to describe your circumstances determines how you see, experience, and participate in them, and dramatically affects how you deal with your life and confront problems, both big and small. Because like he says, when we argue for our limitations, we get to keep them. But it wasn't as simple as just knowing what to stop saying. We had to take it a few levels deeper. By diving into his books, we were able to discover how self-sabotage actually works, and more importantly, how to take back full control over our mind and our life. That is what we are talking about here today. And if you're ready to go on this journey to end self-sabotage for good, let's go. It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
So I want to ask you, what does this quote mean to you? And I'm going to read it one more time because it's a little bit long and complex. So in simple terms, the language you use to describe your circumstances determines how you see, experience, and participate in them, and dramatically affects how you deal with your life and confront problems, both big and small. So what does that mean to you?
Well, simply, it just means that our words have power.
100%. When we think about the words that we say out loud, we don't realize it, but we actually give power because we want to ultimately be right. And so when we say those words like, I want to be able to achieve this, but I don't have time, but I don't have money, we paint ourselves into a corner, basically thinking there's no other way to be able to achieve this.
Okay, so I have a question for you. How does the language that we use shape our perception of challenges and opportunities in both our professional and personal lives?
I think this best is described with some examples. So if somebody is trying to grow a business, but they don't have time, you can say, I'm trying to grow a business, but I don't have time. Can you even sense the power that you're giving those words when you say that? But what if you were to say, I have a business and I'm learning how to get better with time? It just gives you a different feel because now there's things that are out there that you can find that could make you successful. It's the same thing with health. So I hear a lot of people who say, I'm trying to get healthier, but I have kids. And basically when they say but, they're actually now pointing to their kids as the problem to why they can't get healthier. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that there's people in the world who have kids who are also healthy. What if instead we changed it to an and? So I'm trying to get healthy and I have kids. Now what you're going to do is you're going to be scanning the outside world to find something that works for you who wants to get healthy and someone who has kids. Now you're going to be able to have the best of both worlds.
Yes, and your kids go from an excuse to actually your purpose.
Can you give me an example of where a change in language and perspective led to significant improvements in someone's business or family life?
Yeah, I can actually give an example in my personal life. So I used to say, I have to X, Y, and Z. I have to go to work. I have to work out. And I realized that words had so much power over me. I mean, you can sense that energy of this is a chore. But then what I learned is that I can change that simply to say, I get to, rather than I have to. There's a really crazy energy shift when you go from have to get to. I get to go to work because some people just can't go to work. I get to work out. Obviously, there are people out there that can't work out. So it went from a place of gratitude that I'm lucky to be in this position and I'm working on something. So changing the language to I get to changed my mindset around a lot of different things.
Yeah, I love that. And like for some people who might be at the place where they have to do something, or they don't really believe or want to believe that they get to do it, you can even take baby steps there. Instead of saying, I have to do this, you just say that I'm doing this right now. I'm doing it and I'm learning something in the process. And instead of being trapped into what you have to do, it totally changes the energy. Now, as you were talking, one of the things that I hear a lot from people is I have to take care of my kids. Now, the truth is you really don't. I mean, a lot of people would not really necessarily love that you didn't take care of your kids. But when you even think about that, I have to take care of my kids, it puts you in a weird energy while you're taking care of them versus saying, I get to take care of my kids or I am taking care of my kids. It's just a different energy and you really step into it. So here's the thing, even if those words are true, how does it get you to show up when you say them out loud? That's the true test on whether or not you should continue to use those words or think of something different.
Okay, so how do you start applying this?
Okay, so one of the things that people typically think is that you go from one extreme to the other and that it's instantly going to happen. And then before you know it, your words are going to be perfect. It is really just thinking about it from the day-to-day situations you go through and think about like, okay, when I said those things, what were some of the things that kind of made me feel like I was trapped, like I didn't have any other solutions, right? And when you go through that and you kind of have this bird's eye view of what's going on, you can actually start to slowly change this. I still remember having these conversations with the kids and even correcting myself when I said something very particular about trying to do something. I remember Alyssa, she was talking about asking Santa for a present that she wanted. And I said, oh, I'll try to ask him. And I remember her kind of calling me out. And she said, Dad, no, either ask him or don't ask him. Don't try to do anything. And I'm like, touche. Thank you for holding me to that. Which does kind of like actually bring something else up. It's like when you are trying to get control over your words, who you hang out with is critical. Do you have people who are willing to call you out on it? Or do you have people who are talking the way that you want to talk? You'd be amazed at how much power you give things when you simply change the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and your language now starts to be like theirs. So be sure that you're around people who, number one, are willing to call you out, but number two, are using the same language that you want to be able to use. So what do you think is the relationship between the language we use and our mental health?
So when we start speaking, that means it's already gone through the filter in our mind. There's this internal dialogue that we have. And many times we don't speak well to ourselves. We have our own narrative going on, and it's usually not positive. So that can really affect our mental health.
Yeah, not only does it take up your mental space when you're shaming, guilting, or trying to humiliate yourself into doing that thing, but it also is energy that you could be using elsewhere, because we can only do one thing at a time. And if we're constantly having that narrative inside that is basically allowing those words to come out, we're wasting that valuable time and energy. But also I think about it related to kids too, is when we're saying these things out loud, they're also interpreting it and making it mean things for them too. Because I know I've heard this before, but to our kids, we're like super mom and super dad and superheroes, right? And so if we say things out loud, then of course they're going to feel like, oh, well, if mom and dad believe that, then I should probably believe that myself. So when you are very careful about this, not only will it help give you the mental brain capacity back, because I know I was so exhausted when I was having these internal battles, it'll also prevent other people from doing that to themselves too. So what are some practical steps that people can take from this video and start implementing?
One of the steps you can take is just to become aware of when it's happening. We can't change what we don't know. So the next time you catch yourself actually using the language that you don't want to use, again, we don't want to shame ourselves. We just realize that we're doing it and think of different words to say for next time.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I personally realize when I'm doing this is when I'm using words like I'm stuck, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm confused. Because what I'm typically doing is I'm putting a label on myself, and that label is meant really to keep me safe, because it's like, well, if I'm stuck, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to take any actions. Or if I'm confused, it's going to be a waste of time. And what I realize is it's because of the words that I've said. And saying words out loud like I'm stuck, I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, we will all go out there and prove that to be right, like we said. So that is my indicator. So find out what your indicators are. And I'd love to hear in the comments what comes up for you in terms of the indicators for you and when you want to change your language.
So how does embracing the power of language align with the goals of achieving business success without sacrificing time or personal well-being? And this is all what we advocate on our channel, Modern Leadership.
Yeah, I think the reason why we actually created this is because we wanted people to have an and situation. Whenever we talk about things on our channel, we ask ourselves, how could we achieve success in this area and in this area? And there's a lot of business gurus out there, a lot of fitness gurus, and a lot of relationship gurus, and I love them. I mean, I'm part of a lot of different programs and stuff out there, but I didn't see something that was a mixture of how you can excel at it all. And here's the difference. When you actually are trying to learn something, if you're learning something in the realms of what is something that could help my business really take off, you're going to only have the filter of, is it good for my business or is it not good for my business? But if you ask yourself, how can I excel in business and family? Now you have a filter to find answers that will help you excel in both of those. And that's really what we do here on this channel, is we ask ourselves, how can we excel in business at the same time, creating a great connection with our family and making sure our physical and mental health is on point? And that's what we do, is we constantly bring this up because we want people to know that there's answers out there, even if they don't find them here. We want them to be able to see that they can find them somewhere. Now, on that journey, there's a piece of the puzzle that we want to share with you right now that Gary John Bishop shared with us. And that is the fact that you, my friend, are relentless. Here's what Gary wanted us to share with you. He says, here's the deal. True relentlessness comes when the only thing you have left is relentlessness. When it seems all is lost and all hope and evidence for success have long since vanished, relentlessness is the fuel that drives you through. We see you. We see that you're relentless. You're taking action. You're learning things. You're implementing, and you're being very specific about the words that you use. This isn't going to be perfect, but it's definitely going to be worth it. And most people are not willing to do it, but we know you're different. We know you're willing to lean in, and we know you're willing to grow. So thank you for showing up like that and being the leader the world needs now more than ever. Now, definitely grab some of Gary John Bishop's books. And if you didn't know, we actually have a business leadership book club where we actually dive into really powerful books like his and help share the wisdom as a team so we can create exponential growth. If that's something you're not a part of, I'll leave the link in the description. It's currently free right now. And lastly, we want to thank you for being here. Thank you for leaning into this community. And above all, keep leading from the front, leader. Bye.